I know there are some viewers who are new to this theory, so I thought I'd make a quick outline for you guys. Basically, stellar metamorphosis goes over the star being really big and eventually cooling, shrinking, and evolving to the point to where it's, no longer visible and it's just rocks and minerals. But a few basic concepts, if you want to take a look at that. I don't know if you can see it. Are important to understand. As a star evolves, its luminosity decreases, meaning it becomes less bright. Its color changes, meaning it goes through down the spectrum, and its color changes when it doesn't have a spectrum anymore. Its mass decreases because, well, it's irradiating its mass and it's losing mass to solar wind and CMEs, and also more evolved stars. What happens is the photo evaporates away from hotter host stars ripping at them. Its volume decreases. Obviously, it's really big, really voluminous, and as it cools and collapses, its volume decreases. Its surface area decreases, so a lot of the phenomenon on the surface changes because of the surface area being smaller. Its gravitational pull decreases, obviously because the mass decreases as well. I think that's correlational though. I don't think gravity is caused by mass. I don't think that's causational at all. Its temperature decreases. The star becomes cooler. So a star like the Sun at 5880 Kelvin will eventually become Earth-like many billions of years into the future. The heat production goes from external to internal, meaning a lot of the heat of young stars is on the surface, and as it evolves, the heat migrates and moves towards the inner regions of the star. Eventually, the star traps all the heat with the gaseous buildup on the outside, and which leads me to my next point. The length of evolution at each stage increases. So stars at this stage, they evolve rapidly, and as they cool and die, the length of their evolution increases significantly. So a star like this will evolve a lot longer periods of time than like this and than like this. And as it cools and dies, the length of its evolution increases because it takes that much more time for those processes to take place. It goes from vacuumous to solid material. Young stars are very vacuumous and full of ionized matter, and as it cools and shrinks and dies, the plasmatic material becomes gaseous, the gas giant, and that gas giant forms a little rocky ball in the center, which is solid material. Young stars are violent and turbulent, and as they evolve, they become more stable. They become less turbulent, less activity, that stuff like that. Except for, when it becomes a flare star, but that's the exception to the rule. After that flare star stages, it will cool and become more and more stable. The star begins with no life, and then as it cools, shrinks, and dies, it becomes life-hosting. As well, not only does it become life-hosting, but it's the very source of life creation itself. It's when all those molecules are formed, the radicals, which then form all the other lipids, carbohydrates, sugars, stuff like that. It forms that naturally. It doesn't. You don't need a rock from outer space making life. The life evolves on the star's surface as it cools and dies. And a really important part I wanted to go over is that stars remain spherical as they evolve. Just like a basketball. They're round. They don't become discs. They don't, become squares or giant dodecahedrons or... They're spherical. They're round as they evolve. And the most important part, Stars evolve. Electric Universe wants you to believe that stars are powered by intergalactic circuits. No. Once the star is born, it evolves. All the material the star is comprised of cools and combines with other material, loses its mass to solar wind and CMEs, and it evolves into a gas giant, which then continues its evolution into a rocky world with oceans. As well, establishment science, they don't know what they're doing either. They have stars as exploding at the end of their lives, which is very, very strange. When I first made this discovery, I was looking up the stellar evolution page, and I noticed that they had a differentiated star at the end of its evolution, had the same composition and structure as the Earth, the iron core, magnesium, silicon, oxygen, nitrogen, on the outside. But then they say, well, this is just before core collapse when the star explodes. And then I looked down at the Earth, on the ground, and I was like, this thing ain't gonna explode. Their models are completely bogus. Do not pay attention to establishment stellar evolution models. They have no idea what they're doing. They are idiots. Today is October 22nd, 2015. Hopefully this helps people understand the stars better. Later.